Hey, RPV, the window is open and the message is clear. Price right and you move quick.
And watch out for a little bit of economic data because some of these things are impacting lending, and we'll talk a little bit about that next.
So detached median jumped 16% right now. Now, granted, this is, it's always an interesting thing with data, right? Because we are in the 901, right? But we are like in and of ourselves, right? But this is the only way to kind of figure out like where the velocity of the market is kind of trending, right? So that's good. So closed sales up, days on market down.
Yeah, those are good.
Supply down to 3 months. I think days on market tripped down to under 40, which still sounds high. But when you think of the rest of the county, not even including in the foothills, is easily 2 months. That's actually pretty good.
It is.
And I think the big picture here is like Big Mo, right? Where's the momentum going? And I know we're all like glued to the screen of what the rate is. And I know we're all like completely fixated on what the economy is going to do and is Powell in or is Powell out, all the, the random musings that they pull us, as if we have anything to do with any of it, right? Meanwhile, we're living our lives. We're having kids. They're getting bigger. We need more space. Want to get into the school system, all that stuff. But I think inside the gates, though, it's all the more important because the numbers, when the percentage wise, right? So it's like, timing can be a difference of 10% easily, plus or minus. 10% on, 2 milli, good little chunk of, whether you're looking over your shoulder and figure whether they did that right. So I'll put the question to you, actually. Let's have some fun with this. Where do you see things moving now that things have kind of come back to parity a little bit almost, right? From where they were. And where do you see them moving now as November turns into December, January, February? This little kind of, as we round the corner off season we have.
Well, it's always a little bit of a weird time, right? Because not everybody wants to be moving or selling during these holiday season. But as you've noted before, a lot of times there's some nice little opportunities inside this season.
Right.
From an economic standpoint, from a number standpoint, we're seeing really high credit holding. So credit card debts are up 1.2 trillion in the United States.
Isn't it? Didn't they just hit all-time high?
It's pairing the all-time high
of the Great Recession.
Probably more importantly, delinquencies are higher than they were pre-pandemic level. So what we're seeing is a little bit of pressure, and that pressure, I think, may change lending guidelines. And that is probably most important.
If everybody's proving on paper that they don't have the money to even pay off their credit card debt.
Right. So not only making qualifications harder, but if that's not even applicable to you, it could be applicable to you in that the lending institutions are tightening up a little bit. In that way, I think in the bigger markets, the higher dollar markets, this matters more because many of those folks are business owners, self-employed, or they have kind of unique income streams. And those are where the belt gets tightened, almost beginning with those programs with lenders, because they get worried. Those are the fringe ones. Those aren't the 1 + 1 = 2. Those are like, hey, we got to kind of buy your story a little bit. That's where the lending institutions start really tightening down and saying, hey, this is harder. So
integrated complexity always means risk upgrade for a lender.
That's it. And so if this comes true, I'm not saying this has happened yet, but if this comes true, historically speaking, that's kind of the cycle, then some of these bigger dollar housing markets are going to have a little bit of a challenge in terms of their buyer pool. And that's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, it is. So as we move now through the winter months, right, as if we had them, get your snow shovel out, gang.
It's going to be 65 this week.
Right. Think about this because 26 is going to be an interesting little bug. It's like I kind of feel like this wave of momentum, right, has kind of been coming, and it's like it feels like it's a tailwind right now for some what to start popping off. But there's some snakes in the grass. Yeah, that debt thing is curious. If they start dropping the rates, that could help out a little bit. But
and you talked about momentum.
Is it enough?
How much does it matter what your neighbor just did, right? And especially in a small community like RPV, you've got a number of houses and people are looking just in those gates, right?
That's right.
And so it's important to see what your neighbor did to find out what you can do.
Yeah, perfect way to end it. Gang, happy to help. Thanks for checking in. Happy holidays to you, and we'll see you back next month.